I want to ask you about the fact that you're running for the Democratic nomination and 77% of Democrats support an assault weapons ban. Do you not support an assault weapons ban?
If we can get a consensus on it, if Republicans and Democrats agreed to it and it passed Congress, I would sign it.
What's up, Solutionarys? Maj Toure here. You just saw RFK having a town hall discussion where he yet again talks about his anti-gun position. Now, Maj is mostly right. I've told y'all for the last few months that this video is brought to you by BlackGunsMatterShop.com. Get all of your pro-liberty, pro-gun, pro-freedom solutionary gear at BlackGunsMatterShop.com. This guy is just an anti-gun Democrat. Why on earth so many libertarians, as you guys know, I'm a libertarian, why so many libertarians are enamored with him falls into usually two categories. One, he's been very critical of the COVID regime, as well as the vaccines, and critical of Fauci, as everyone with half a brain has been. If you haven't bought into the cult of you got to do what the government says, what Big Pharma says, you've been criticizing that. So that's not necessarily a super duper point. Now, it's a little bit interesting for a Democrat to do something like that because generally over the last 2 or 3 years, Democrats have been in lockstep with what the mainstream narrative has been. If television and Big Pharma and Fauci has said do X, Y, and Z, that is exactly what has been done. So that gives him a little bit of a flavor from a Democratic standpoint. But let's be clear, guys, RFK Jr. is not a political outsider. He is a Kennedy. The Kennedy family is a very storied and politically connected, on the Democrat side, type of family. That is the reality. It does not make him an outsider in any way, shape, or form. Now, again, going back to the pro-gun thing or the anti-gun thing, there's tweets that exist of him saying the NRA has the blood on their hands of, certain school shootings, and people that are climate deniers should absolutely be charged. I think in one interview with a little bit of context added to it, he was advocating that some of the people that are in certain positions, if they're climate deniers, they should be prosecuted. This is par for the course of a regular Democrat conversation. This, just because he speaks well about the jab and Big Pharma, does not mean we get to ignore his very unconstitutional take. And in that video right there, you also saw if he was presented with a assault weapons ban, so-called assault weapons ban, that's a made-up term, that if it got through Congress somehow, Republicans and Democrats would actually concede and agree on this. If he was the president, if it got to his desk, he would absolutely sign it. This goes in alignment with the unconstitutional concept. He's saying, I would, as opposed to saying, no, I wouldn't. It's unconstitutional. It's very simple. Passing the buck in that way by saying, if the Republicans and Democrats came to a consensus and then they agreed and they put it in front of me, I would violate the Constitution, because that's in essence what's being said. There's been other interviews where he's talked about, I think that interview was with Elon Musk on a Twitter space, where in essence what he said was, now was not the right time to advocate for more gun control because America is too divided. In essence, that means this may not be the right time, but there potentially could be a right time. The whole thing being, we have a constitution, we have human rights that are codified as checks on the government, okay? The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Not, when a bunch of people somehow agree to this because they don't understand the Constitution, they don't understand the purpose of the founding document, so forth and so on. The doublespeak and the saying things when convenient, like in that video, because that video was in a town hall full of mostly Democrats. As the lady said, 77% of Democrats agree with an assault weapons ban. He's saying a thing that's political middle talk to try to get into a position. Now, the problem with that is, outside of the fact that it's not direct and it's a little bit unscrupulous, the problem with that is people will believe that if he got in the position, that means he would somehow magically switch to defending the Constitution. If someone does not understand the basic position of a president's job is to defend the Constitution and keep us out of wars. I don't think he'll do that. And he clearly has told us in direct terms through tweets, as well as indirect terms through vague speech, that in position he would be okay with violating the Constitution, which is the other part of the job as the commander-in-chief. So this RFK thing is an absolute bust. There are plenty of other candidates that you could look into. It's also important for us to make sure that we're looking into local and state candidates to make sure that we're building from the ground up. This is not about the lesser of two evils or three evils or 16 evils. This is not what voting is about, especially on a national level. We are supposed to vote for the person that understands the job, and just because we like their talking points on one area does not mean we get to ignore their unconstitutional takes on others. Comment below, tell me what you think, your perspective on RFK Jr. Is it a good trade-off for you? Do you think that Republicans wouldn't allow some of that stuff to get to, through Congress, so it doesn't really matter what he says? Are you okay with somebody doing political, just campaign talk in the meantime, and you'll trust them when they get in the position? Comment below. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Support the work, support the channel. Give us your perspective. Be safe. Be solutionary.